The second Mason Cole's spit hit my face, I knew this would end badly. Not for me. For him. She's mine at work, Quinn. Wait your turn, he said, fixing his expensive tie like he was some kind of king. His voice had that proud Boston edge that always sounded like he thought the whole city belonged to him. The whole executive floor of Ironcrest Technologies went quiet. About 30 people stood there holding champagne glasses and fake smiles, acting like they were not watching my life break open in front of them. My wife Ava stood only a few feet away. Her blonde hair was perfectly done. The office lights caught every curl. She was wearing the black dress I bought her for our anniversary. The one she said made her feel beautiful. She did not rush to me. She did not gasp. She did not even look embarrassed. She just lifted her wine glass, took a slow sip, and watched me get humiliated like it was normal. Like it was nothing. Like this was just another Tuesday. Tonight, darling, she said, her voice smooth and cold, Mason is working late on some very important projects. I wiped my cheek with my sleeve. I could feel every eye in the room on me. HR managers. Software engineers. Marketing people. Junior staff pretending to stare at the floor. They all knew Ava as the sharp, pretty, fast-rising head of human resources. She had started as an intern and climbed all the way to the executive floor in 5 years. They knew Mason as her boss. Vice President of Operations. Corner office. Porsche in the executive parking spot. Loud voice. Bigger ego. But they did not know me. That was the funny part. Well, I said, giving them all my usual small harmless smile, I wouldn't want to get in the way of important work. I looked straight at Mason. You should probably get back to it. Just don't forget to tell the chairman about tonight. Mason laughed so loudly it rolled across the whole floor. The chairman? He said. Kid, I am the chairman around here. Then he leaned closer. Ava's told me all about you. Some middle manager nobody who can't even keep his wife interested. A few people looked away. A few looked shocked. A few looked like they were enjoying this way too much. That's right, I said quietly as I pulled out my phone. Just remember I told you to mention it to him. The music started again. Conversation slowly came back. Ava gave me one last cold look, then turned and walked with Mason toward his office. Like I was already behind them. Like I was already forgotten. I grabbed my coat and headed for the elevator. At the security desk, the night guard looked up and gave me a long look. Evening, Mr. Hale, Frankie Malone said. His accent was warm, not nasty like Mason's. Frankie had worked in security for years. Before that, he had been a Boston cop for a long time. He had seen every kind of liar, bully, and fool. Rough night? He asked. I pressed the elevator button and smiled without humor. Frankie, I said, it's only getting started. He nodded slowly like he understood more than he was saying. I drove home to our house in Brookline. Well, my house really. The mortgage was in my name. The deed was in my name. Most things were in my name, actually. But Ava had never stopped to ask how a middle manager nobody could pay for a 4-bedroom house in one of the nicer suburbs near Boston. She had liked the house. She had liked the kitchen, the fireplace, the crown molding, the deep bathtub upstairs, the backyard stone patio. She just never cared enough to ask how I got it. That night the place felt different. Not empty because Ava was gone. She had been gone plenty lately. Late meetings. Work dinners. Urgent projects. Nights at her friend's place. No. The house felt empty because I finally saw the truth. This marriage had been dead for a long time. And now I was standing in the room where I could finally bury it. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and went into my home office. On the shelf was our wedding photo. Ava looked radiant. I looked happy. We looked like 2 people who still loved each other. That almost made me laugh. My phone buzzed. A text from Ava. Staying at Tessa's tonight. We need to talk tomorrow. Tessa Lane. Her best friend. The company's PR director. Another climber. Another smiling snake in nice shoes. I had never liked Tessa. Her laugh was fake. Her eyes were mean. She always looked at me like I was something sticky she stepped in by mistake. I texted back. Sure. I'll be here. Then I opened my laptop. Then I made a call. Very few people had the private cell phone number of the man who truly ran Ironcrest Technologies. I did. He picked up on the second ring. Quinn, my boy, he said. How did the little test go? Exactly how you said it would, I replied. Mason took the bait. Ava too. A low chuckle came through the phone. Excellent. So, are you ready for phase 2? I looked again at the wedding photo. 5 years of marriage. 2 years of cheating. 6 months of me knowing. 6 months of collecting proof. 6 months of waiting. Tonight had been the final piece I needed. Public humiliation. Witnesses. Enough reason for what came next. Yes, sir, I said. More than ready. Good. Be in my office first thing tomorrow. It's time they learn who they've really been playing with. I ended the call and finished my bourbon. Tomorrow, Ava and Mason would learn that the quiet husband they mocked was the one person in that whole company they never should have crossed. The man they laughed at. The man they thought was harmless. the man they thought was blind. For 3 years, I had been handling Ironcrest's most sensitive operations while the owner stayed in the shadows. I knew every dirty deal, every secret payment, every rule they bet, every corner they cut so their numbers looked pretty on paper. I knew what they stole. I knew what they hid. And now I had a reason to open every locked door. I went to bed alone that night. But I was not lonely. I was planning. Ava came home the next morning looking like she had slept in her dress. Which, if I was being honest, she probably had. Her makeup was smeared. Her hair was messy. She walked like someone who had not slept much at all. Or maybe had slept somewhere else. "We need to talk," she said, dropping her purse onto the kitchen counter like she was dropping a bomb. I held up the coffee pot. "Coffee first?" I asked. "You look like you need it." "Don't be cute, Quinn. This isn't cute time, Quinn." She only used my real name when she wanted to hurt me. Most people called me Q. Ava used to call me that too back when she still acted like she liked me. When she switched to Quinn, it meant she was putting on armor. "All right," I said, pouring myself a cup. "Talk." She pulled a large manila envelope from her bag. My eyes stayed on her face. Not the envelope. "I want a divorce," she said. "Okay." She blinked. I almost felt sorry for her right then because this was clearly not how she pictured the scene. "Okay," she repeated. "Sure," I said. "You're sleeping with your boss. You clearly don't want this marriage anymore. And honestly, Ava, I'm tired of pretending this is working." Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. No tears from me. No shouting. No begging. No dramatic, "How could you?" Just calm. That shook her more than rage would have. "I already filed the papers," she said quickly. "My lawyer says with your income compared to mine, I may owe you support, but we'll see." I almost smiled. My income? If she only knew. "What income are we talking about?" I asked. She folded her arms. "Don't play dumb. Your salary at Harbor Point Media." Harbor Point Media was my cover job. Small office downtown. Respectable title. Boring business cards. Senior account manager. 70,000 a year on paper. Cling. Ordinary. Easy to dismiss. What Ava did not know was that Harbor Point was owned by an Ironcrest holding company, and my real salary came from somewhere else entirely. "Right," I said. "Harbor Point." She pushed the papers toward me. I signed them without reading. Her eyes widened. "That's it?" she asked. I slid the envelope back. "There you go. You're not even going to fight me?" "Fight what?" I asked. "You want out. You're out." "I'm not going to beg someone to stay married to me." I took a sip of coffee. I still have some pride left. For a second she looked almost disappointed. Like she had prepared for a battle, and I had ended the war before the first shot. "Mason is helping me find a new place," she said. "I'm sure he is." "He's a good man, Quinn." That line almost made me laugh. "Better than you ever were," she added. Now I did smile. Not because it hurt. Because it didn't. "I'm sure you're right," I said. "Mason seems like exactly the kind of man you deserve." Her eyes flashed. I think she wanted to slap me. Instead, she grabbed the papers and turned for the door. "I'll come by later this week for my things." "Take your time," I said. "I'll be at work." After she left, I called in sick to Harbor Point. No one there would care. Then I drove to Ironcrest headquarters in downtown Boston. 40 floors of glass and steel. Mason's corner office on 38. Executive parking up high. And me? I parked where I always parked. Basement level. A normal employee spot. Nothing fancy. Nothing that would ruin the lie. But that spot had private elevator access to the top floor, and almost nobody knew that. Frankie was waiting at the security desk when I walked in. "Heard about the little show last night?" he said, his old face folding into a grin. "Word travels fast." "Oh, it's flying," he said. "Tessa's already called half the building. She's telling everybody Mason finally put you in your place. Says Ava is finally moving up to a real man." "Is that so?" "That's the nice version. You want the ugly version?" "Later," I said. "I've got work." The private elevator needed a special key card. Only 3 people had one. Mr. Graham Sterling, his personal assistant, Miriam, and me. Miriam looked up as I stepped into the outer office. "Quinn," she said warmly, "I heard congratulations might be in order." "For what?" "For finally getting to stop pretending to be boring." She stood and handed me a fresh cup of coffee before I even asked. Miriam had been with Mr. Sterling for 15 years. She knew everything. She also had that calm grandmother kind of way about her that made even ugly days feel manageable. "He's waiting for you," she said. Then her voice softened. "And he's excited." I haven't seen him this excited in years. Mr. Sterling's office took up almost half the top floor. Huge windows looked out over Boston Harbor. Old wood shelves. Beautiful rugs. Photographs of him with governors, senators, famous CEOs. The room smelled like money, power, and old books. "Quinn, my boy," he said, standing as I walked in. Graham Sterling was in his 70s, small and sharp-eyed, built more like a professor than a billionaire. But there was nothing soft about him. He had built Ironcrest from a tiny startup into a monster. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Like it's Christmas morning," I said. He laughed. "Excellent. Miriam, hold all my calls. Quinn and I have planning to do." For the next 2 hours we went through everything. Mason's crooked expense reports. Vendor deals that smelled wrong. Payments going to companies connected to his friends. Ava's buried complaints. The harassment reports she made disappear. The settlement money she approved without board permission. The way she used HR like a weapon to push out anyone who made trouble for Mason. Then there was Tessa. Tessa's theft was smaller. A few $1,000s spread across fake expense reports over 2 years. But stolen money was still stolen money. And in the corporate world, that kind of thing could cut a career in half. "The beautiful part," Mr. Sterling said, leaning back in his chair, "is that everything we do today is legal, deserved, and devastating." "When do we start?" I asked. "Today. I'm calling an emergency board meeting for 4 o'clock. By 5, all 3 of them will be suspended. By the end of the week, they'll be unemployed and untouchable." He smiled. "And Ava will soon find out that the divorce settlement she imagined is built on a lie she never bothered to question." I looked out at the harbor. The water was calm. I was not. "This is going to be something," I said. Mr. Sterling's smile widened. "In business," he said, "I've learned one thing. Never underestimate how satisfying it is to watch proud people get exactly what they earned." The emergency board meeting was set for 4. By 3:30 the whole building felt different. Rumors moved through the halls. People whispered at coffee stations. Phones buzzed. Something big was coming. Mason, Ava, and Tessa were all called to the main conference room on 39. I was not officially invited. That was fine. Mr. Sterling had built a small observation room beside the conference room years ago for situations exactly like this. It had one-way glass. Sound. A perfect view. Frankie sat next to me with a tub of popcorn in his lap. "This," he whispered, "is better than TV." Mason sat at the head of the table like he owned the whole building. Ava sat to his right. Fresh outfit. New makeup. Perfect posture. Tessa sat on Ava's other side, chin up, trying to look calm. The 3 of them looked like a team. Like they thought they were about to handle a problem together. 7 board members sat around the long table, all looking grim. They had already seen the files. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mr. Sterling began, his voice soft but heavy, "we have serious matters to discuss." Mason leaned forward. "Sir, if this is about the Henderson deal, I can explain." Mr. Sterling turned his head. "Mr. Cole," he said, "you will speak when I am done. Right now I am speaking." That shut the room down. "Over the last 18 months, Mr. Sterling continued, our internal team has uncovered a pattern of expense fraud, shady vendor deals, abuse of company money, and serious ethics violations reaching directly into our executive ranks." Ava went still. Tessa's fingers tightened around her pen. Mason tried to sit straighter, but some of the color had already left his face. "The Henderson deal," Mr. Sterling said, "is only the beginning. There is also the Brennan account, the licensing contract with Harbor Ridge Systems, and the very interesting consulting payments to Blue Harbor Solutions, a company that, after review, appears to exist only to move money into your private accounts, Mr. Cole." "That's ridiculous," Mason snapped. "I don't know what bad information you've been given." "The information," Mr. Sterling said, "came from our Director of Special Operations who has been investigating these irregularities for the last 18 months. All 3 of them looked around the table at once. I could almost hear their thoughts. "Oh, what director? Since when?" Then Mr. Sterling turned toward Ava. "Ms. Reed," he said, "your department settled 17 misconduct complaints over the last 2 years without board approval. More than $200,000 in payments. And we have reason to believe you systematically pushed out employees who tried to report executive misconduct." Ava's calm finally cracked. "Those were valid HR decisions," she said. "I made them to protect the company." "From what?" Mr. Sterling asked. The truth? Silence. Then he looked at Tessa. And Ms. Lane. Your fake conference fees, your false client dinners, and my personal favorite, charging the company for your Martha's Vineyard weekend as a team-building trip, when the only team there was you and your yoga instructor. Tessa looked like she might throw up. Mr. Sterling folded his hands. Now, he said, I would like you all to meet the person who found this information. He pressed the intercom. Quinn, he said, please join us. I stood up and walked into the room. The look on Mason's face was worth every second I had waited. His mouth actually fell open. Ava looked like she had seen a ghost. Tessa stared at me and forgot how to blink. I took my seat at the far end of the table directly across from Ava. Mr. Sterling spoke clearly. Everyone, this is Quinn Hale, our Director of Special Operations. Quinn has reported directly to me for the last 3 years on matters involving internal security, corporate intelligence, and executive oversight. I looked at my wife. Hello, Ava, I said pleasantly. Mason. Tessa. Nice to see you all again. This is impossible, Mason said. He works at Harbor Point. He's nobody. Harbor Point is an Ironcrest subsidiary, I said. My cover position gave me room to move, meet people, and investigate without drawing attention. Ava's lips parted. You've been spying on us, she whispered. I've been doing my job, I said. The fact that my job included documenting your crimes was just lucky timing. Mr. Sterling stood. All 3 of you are suspended immediately pending full investigation. Security will escort you out. You have until Friday to clear your offices. You can't do this, Mason said, finally finding his voice again. I have contracts. Responsibilities. You had contracts, Mr. Sterling said. You had responsibilities. Now you have lawyers to call. Frankie stepped into the doorway with 2 other guards. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, come with us. As they were led away, Ava turned back toward me. Her eyes were filled with pure hatred. This isn't over, Quinn. I held her stare. Actually, I said, it is. But thank you for an educational 5 years. After they were gone, Mr. Sterling poured 2 glasses of scotch in his office. He handed me one. Phase 1, he said, is complete. I took the glass. Phase 1. He smiled. Quinn, my boy, did you think I was going to stop at firing them? I said nothing. He walked behind his desk and pulled out a thick file. What they did to you last night was ugly. What they've done to this company is worse. And what they've done to other employees. Unforgivable. He tapped the file. Mason has been living way above his means for years. Penthouse. Porsche. Fancy watches. Everything tied up in loans. The second the banks understand he is jobless and poisoned in this city, they will squeeze. He looked up. He will lose everything. I took a slow sip of scotch. And Ava? She is about to discover that the divorce she rushed into is not the easy payday she imagined. I raised an eyebrow. And Tessa? Mr. Sterling's eyes sharpened. Tessa's little theft has already been reported. Small theft is still theft. Once the federal people take interest, her name is finished. I set the glass down. When do we begin phase 2? Mr. Sterling smiled wider. My dear boy, he said, we already have. By Friday morning, Boston's business world was on fire with gossip. Ironcrest Technologies had fired 3 senior executives for fraud, theft, ethics violations, and abuse of power. The story hit the business section of the newspaper before lunch. People in offices all over the city were reading it between meetings and coffee breaks. Ava, Mason, and Tessa were not just out of work. They were marked. Tessa cracked first. She showed up at my house Thursday night, crying before I even opened the door all the way. Quinn, please, she said, tears running down her face. You have to help me. I stayed in the doorway. I don't have to do anything, Tessa. The FBI called me today, she whispered. They want to talk to me about the expense reports. That sounds serious. It was only a few thousand over 2 years, she said quickly. People do this all the time. You know how company expenses work. Actually, I said, I don't. I was always very careful with mine. She took a shaky breath. I could lose everything. My job. My name. Maybe even my freedom. You should have thought of that before you stole from the company. Her face twisted. I wasn't stealing. I was just moving things around. That is stealing, Tessa. She wiped her face and changed tactics fast. What if I tell you something about Ava? I said nothing. Things you don't know, she added. Like what? She leaned closer. She's been planning to leave you for over a year. She and Mason laughed about you. Called you pathetic. They made jokes about how easy you were to fool. I almost smiled. Tell me something I don't already know. Tessa looked down, then back up. She's pregnant. That stopped me cold. My fingers tightened on the door. What? 2 months, Tessa said. She doesn't know if it's yours or Mason's. But she hopes it's his. She said she wants a fresh start with a real man. A hard, cold feeling settled in my stomach. Not heartbreak. That part was gone. This was something else. A legal problem. If Ava was still married to me when that baby came, things could get messy. Thank you for the information, I said. Her face lit with weak hope. So you'll help me? No. I closed the door. Then I called my lawyer. If Ava was pregnant, I needed the divorce finished before that child was born. I was not about to spend years fighting to prove another man's baby was not mine. Friday afternoon, I was at Flannery's, the bar a few blocks from Ironcrest where office gossip flowed as easily as beer. I was halfway through my drink when Mason walked in. He looked 10 years older. His expensive suit was wrinkled. His hair was a mess. His eyes looked hollow, like sleep had left him days ago. He saw me at the bar and came straight over. You ruined my life, he said as he dropped onto the stool beside me. I kept my eyes on my beer. No, I said. You ruined your own life. I just wrote it down. He laughed once, but there was no real humor in it. 3 years, he said. 3 years I gave that company. 80-hour weeks. Results. Big contracts. And theft, I said. And lies. And using women in your office like they were decorations. That's not what happened. That is exactly what happened. I finally turned and looked at him. I have security footage, Mason. Bank records. Email trails. Signed approvals. Want me to keep going? He looked away first. You want the truth? I asked quietly. You got lazy. You got greedy. And you got arrogant. You thought nobody was watching. He ordered a whiskey. Drank it fast. Ordered another. Then he stared into the glass like it might save him. Ava's pregnant, he said. So I heard. It could be yours. It isn't. That made him look up. How can you be sure? I held his stare. Because Ava and I haven't slept together in 8 months. His face drained. I let that sit between us. Funny, I said, because that's about how long you and she have been sneaking around. How long have you known? He asked. Since the start. He stared at me. I could see it breaking him. Not the affair. Not the job loss. The fact that I had known and he still never saw me coming. I know about the hotel rooms, I continued. The late nights in your office. The weekends you called work trips. I know about the second phone Ava bought so she could text you. I know about the credit card she opened for gifts she never brought home. He swallowed hard. Then why didn't you say anything? Because I was collecting proof for the divorce, I said. And building a case for the company. 2 birds. 1 stone. He looked down again. Then he said something I did not expect. She doesn't want the baby. I went still. What? Ava, he said. She says a baby would destroy her chances of starting over. She says it would make her look unstable when she tries to get hired again. For the first time that day I felt something close to pity. Not for him. Not even really for her. Just for the ugly truth of who she was. Ava had always been practical when something got in her way. What do you want from me? I asked. He laughed bitterly. I want my old life back. My job. My place. My car. I want to wake up and find out this was all a nightmare. That's not going to happen. The bank is calling my loans, he muttered. I'm losing the penthouse. The car. Everything. I can't even get another interview. Every company in Boston knows why I got fired. I took a drink. Consequences, Mason. Actions come with them. He finished his second whiskey and stood. This isn't over. I looked at him calmly. It is, I said. But if you want to make it worse, go ahead. He left without another word. I stayed there a few minutes longer. Then I walked outside. Frankie was leaning against my car. The boss wants to see you, he said. I unlocked the door. What for? He grinned. Final phase. I shut the car door again. What's final phase? Frankie's smile grew. The part where they never forget your name. The final phase started Monday morning with a call from Ava's lawyer. Mr. Hale, he said, we need to discuss changes to the divorce settlement. What kind of changes? It has come to our attention that your finances may be more complicated than first reported. I almost laughed. Is that right? We would like to question you under oath about your income and assets. Sure, I said. When? Thursday. 10 in the morning. Our office downtown. I'll be there. I hung up and called Mr. Sterling. They're fishing, I told him. Good, he said. Let them. Should I be worried? He chuckled. By Thursday they'll have bigger things to worry about. Tuesday morning the news broke that Tessa had been arrested. Federal charges. Wire fraud. Her mugshot was online by noon. Wednesday morning Mason's penthouse went into foreclosure. The bank moved quickly. Faster than even Mr. Sterling expected. His accounts were frozen. His car was at risk. Overnight, the man who mocked me at a champagne party was almost homeless. Thursday morning, I sat in a polished conference room across from Ava and her lawyer. Big wooden table. Cold bottled water. Legal pads. Tension so thick it almost hummed. Ava looked tired, but she was trying hard not to show it. She had that last battle look in her eyes. Like if she pushed hard enough, maybe she could still save something. Mr. Hale, her lawyer began, we have reason to believe you hid income and assets during this process. What reason is that? I asked. Your lifestyle does not match your reported salary. I nodded once. That part is true. Ava frowned. The lawyer leaned forward. The house. The car. Your savings. The way you live. We believe you have other sources of income. I opened my folder and slid it across the table. You are absolutely right. Ava opened it first. Then she froze. Her lips parted as she looked at my real contract with Ironcrest Technologies. The salary. The bonuses. The stock options. The equity share. All of it. $300,000 a year, she whispered. Plus benefits, I said. Plus equity. Plus bonus structure. Last year was good. Her lawyer started writing fast. Why was this not disclosed in the original filing? He asked. Because the original filing used my cover position at Harbor Point Media, I said. My real work requires privacy. He looked up sharply. What kind of work requires that much privacy? The kind where people think I'm unimportant, I said. I handle internal investigations, company spying, competitor tracking, and executive oversight. Ava stared at me like she had never met me before. You're a spy, she whispered. A corporate investigator, I corrected. Close enough. You lied to me for years. No, I said calmly. I loved you for years. I only played a role for 6 months after I found out you were cheating. She looked like she wanted to scream. Her lawyer cleared his throat. Given this new income, he said, we'll need to recalculate the divorce settlement. Actually, I said, pulling out a second folder, you won't. Ava frowned. What is that? Your employment contract with Ironcrest. We signed no prenup. Not a prenup, I said. A morality clause in your executive contract. Page 15. Her lawyer flipped pages. I watched him find it. Then I watched him go quiet. I spoke simply. Any executive employee who commits adultery with another employee forfeits spousal support rights in divorce claims connected to company conflict. Ava stared at me. Color drained from her face. You set this up. No, I said. I prepared for the possibility that you might betray me with a coworker. I did not force you to do it. Her voice went low and angry. You bastard. I held her eyes. You should read what you sign. That meeting ended with Ava getting almost nothing. Her clothes. Her personal items. A hard lesson. And no easy payday. That afternoon, Mr. Sterling called me into his office. Quinn, he said, I have an offer for you. I sat down. I'm listening. How would you like a promotion? I waited. Director of Corporate Security, he said. Your own floor. Your own team. Better pay. More authority. What's the catch? He smiled. There isn't one. You proved you can handle hard situations with patience, control, and results. I need someone I trust. I thought about it for about 3 seconds. I accept. Good, he said. There is one more thing. I leaned back. Mason has been making threats, he said. Against you. Against the company. Frankie has been keeping an eye on him. How bad? The kind of bad desperate men get when they have nothing left. I already knew where this was going. What do you want me to do? Mr. Sterling smiled the way men smile when the trap is already built. I want you to give him enough rope. That night, I went home to my empty house and waited. I did not have to wait long. At 2 in the morning, my security system sent an alert. Movement in the backyard. I opened the camera feed. 2 figures. Mason and another man I did not know. They were working at the back door trying to force the lock. I called Frankie. They're here. You want police now? He asked. Not yet. Let's see what they're after. From my bedroom window, I watched them break into my house. My house. The one Mason thought he could walk into like he owned it. The cameras caught everything. They moved fast through the kitchen. Went straight to my home office. Opened drawers. Pulled files. Searched my desk. Touched my computer. They were looking for something. Proof maybe. Something to save him. Something to hurt me. They would find nothing. Because there was nothing there to find. Just a man's home. And two fools turning themselves into criminals on 6 high-definition cameras. After about 20 minutes they gave up and left. Then I called the police. "This is Quinn Hale at 47 Maple Drive," I said. "I need to report a break-in." The officers arrived fast. I gave them the footage. A list of everything touched. A description of both men. One officer looked at me. "Do you know who did this?" "I have a strong guess," I said. "My ex-wife's boyfriend. We've had some issues." By Friday morning, Mason was in jail. Breaking and entering. Criminal trespassing. And violating a restraining order I had quietly filed the day before. His bail was $50,000. Money he no longer had. Ava came to my house that afternoon. Not crying this time. Furious. "Get him out of jail," she demanded the second I opened the door. I stayed calm. "I can't help you. You set him up." "No," I said. "I slept in my own house. He chose to break in. He was desperate. He was criminal." She took a step closer. "He's lost everything, Quinn. He stole from the company. He harassed staff. He broke the law. The fact that his choices hurt him does not make him innocent." Her eyes filled with tears then, but I could not tell if they were real or useful. "What about the baby?" she asked. "What about it?" "It's yours." I looked at her for a long, quiet moment. Then I said the words that ended every last thread between us. "No," I said. "It isn't." "How can you know that?" "Because now there was no reason to soften it. Because I had a vasectomy 2 years ago, Ava." She stared at me. Like the ground had fallen away. "What?" "Right after you started talking seriously about children," I said. "I realized I didn't want them. Not with you." Her face went white. "That's impossible." "Call Dr. Morrison at Mass General," I said. "He'll have the records." She sank down on the front step like her legs had given out. For once, Ava had no script. No quick comeback. No smart attack. Nothing. "You thought of everything," she whispered. I shook my head. "No. I was just careful." She looked up at me with empty, tired eyes. "So what happens now?" I stood in the doorway of my own house, feeling the cool air between us. "Now," I said, "you and Mason deal with your own lives. You have a baby to think about. He has charges to face. None of that belongs to me anymore." She laughed once, a broken sound. "You really hate us, don't you?" I thought about that. Longer than she expected. "No," I said at last. "I'm disappointed. I'm angry. I'm done. But hate? No. Hate means I'd still want to carry you in my heart. I don't." That hurt her more than shouting would have. "Then why destroy us like this?" she asked. "Because actions have consequences," I said. "Because people needed to see that using others comes with a price. And because I could." She stood slowly and walked back to her car. It was not the BMW she used to drive. Just an old Honda now. Probably all she could manage. Before she got in, she turned around. "I hope you're happy," she said. I leaned against the doorframe. "I'm getting there." That evening, I sat in my backyard with a beer and my phone. The news was everywhere now. Tessa had taken a plea deal and was looking at 2 years. Mason was still in jail. Ava had moved back in with her parents and was working temp jobs downtown. My phone rang. "Mr. Sterling." "How are you feeling, Quinn?" he asked. I looked out across the yard. The grass moved gently in the evening wind. The house felt quiet again. But this time it felt peaceful. "Satisfied," I said. "Completely satisfied." "Good," he said. "Because I have another assignment for you." I smiled. "What kind?" "Our Seattle office has a problem." I took another sip of beer. "I'm listening." 6 months later, I was in that same backyard again when Frankie stopped by. He accepted a beer from the cooler and sat down across from me. "Thought you'd want an update," he said. "On who?" He snorted. "You know exactly who." I leaned back. "All right. Tell me." "Mason got out a week ago." "How's he doing?" Frankie gave me a dry smile. "Halfway house in Dorchester. Night shift at a gas station." I let that picture form in my mind. The man who once wore $1,000 suits now selling snacks under bad lights at midnight. And Ava? I asked. She won't see him. Blames him for all of it. The baby? Born healthy. She's raising it alone. Still living with her parents. I nodded once. Tessa. Gets out next month. Frankie took a drink, then looked at me sideways. Think any of them learned anything? I looked down at the bottle in my hand. Does it matter? Frankie grinned. Not really. They'll never forget who they messed with. I lifted my beer. To consequences. Frankie clinked his bottle against mine. To consequences. That night I went to bed in my own house. My own room. My own quiet. Completely alone. And completely at peace. Ava had once said she wanted a real man. Someone better than me. Someone stronger, more exciting, more important. She got exactly what she chased. And exactly what she deserved. Sometimes the person everyone laughs at is not weak. Sometimes the quiet man in the corner is not losing. Sometimes the man they call nobody is the one holding the whole board in his hands, waiting for the right moment to move. I never saw Ava again. I never saw Mason again. I never saw Tessa again. I did not need to. The lesson had already been taught. The debt had been paid. Justice had done its work. Clean. Final. And if there was one thing I learned from all of it, it was this. Never confuse silence with weakness. Never confuse patience with fear. And never, ever mistake a man who is watching for a man who does not know. Because by the time people like that finally move, it is already too late. For everyone else.